Hi, my name is Michelle Curtis, and for my music presentation, I decided to analyze the song Scar Tissue by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Here I provided a link to the piece. The Red Hot Chili Peppers are an American funk rock band that were formed in Los Angeles in 1983. Their overall musical style is both funk and rock, but with a greater emphasis on funk. The original band members were Anthony Kiedis, Michael Balzari, who is known as Flea, Hillel Slovak, and Jack Irons. Because of previous commitments to the other bands, Slovak and Irons were not featured in any of the Red Hot Chili Pepper debut albums. The current lineup today is Flea, Anthony Kiedis, Chad Smith, and Josh Klinghoffer. For now, I'm only going to mention Klinghoffer because guitarist John Frusciante is more known for performing Scar Tissue with the Chili Peppers, but he is currently no longer a part of the band. Now I'm going to talk about the specific artists in the band and their lives and accomplishments. First, let's talk about Flea. He was born on October 16, 1962 in Melbourne, Australia. In 2009, Rolling Stone ranked him as the second best bassist of all time, and he is still an active member of the band, which he began in 1982. Anthony Kiedis was born on November 1st, 1962 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He is the lead singer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers and has been since 1983. Kiedis and Flea were both co-founders of the band. Chad Smith was born on October 25, 1961 in St. Paul, Minnesota. He joined the band as the drummer in 1988. He is a big supporter of having and teaching music education in schools across the world. Josh Klinghoffer was born on October 3, 1979 in Los Angeles, California. He plays the guitar and also fronts the alternative band Dot Hacker. He has been a member of the Red Hot Chili Peppers since 2007. John Frusciante is no longer a member of the band, but is most known for performing Scar Tissue. He was an on-again, off-again guitarist since the start. He had a serious heroin addiction, which is what led him to have to take breaks from touring and performing with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He was born on March 5, 1970, in Queens, New York City. When analyzing Scar Tissue, I will be focusing on Frusciante's role instead of Klinghoffer's. Kiedis and Flea met at Fairfax High School in Los Angeles, California, where the two instantly became best friends. After growing up in Minnesota, Chad Smith moved to California after high school following his musical aspirations. Josh Klinghoffer dropped out of high school at age 15 and pursued music in LA. Chad Smith was placed at number 10 on Spin Magazine's Top 100 Greatest Drummers of Alternative Music in May 2013. Anthony Kiedis published an autobiography called Scar Tissue that became a New York Times bestseller. Flea, in 2009, was ranked by Rolling Stone as the second best bassist of all time. Josh Klinghoffer is the youngest artist to ever be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And John Frusciante was ranked at number 18 on Rolling Stone's list of the top 100 greatest guitarists of all time in 2003. Flea is a dedicated runner and completed the LA Marathon. Kiedis was named Sexiest Male Vegetarian Alive, and Chad Smith is a huge fan of SNL. In the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Anthony Kiedis is the lead vocalist, Flea plays the bass guitar and adds to backing vocals, Chad Smith is on the drums, and John Frusciante does the lead and rhythm guitars, slide guitar, and backing vocals. Yes, the song does include text. To me, the central meaning of Scar Tissue focuses on healing and the feeling of loneliness people go through life and their actions to try and get others to notice them, but no one does. The medical definition of scar tissue is connective tissue that forms over a healed wound or cut. That was found from the Free Dictionary. By having this as the title of the song as well as in the text itself, I think it provides context that there was some event in this person's life that they are trying to recover from, hence scar tissue. In this song, the specific event is a drug addiction to heroin and the pain it has caused both Kiedis and Frusciante. I find that this song's meaning can apply to other things in life and serve as a song that lots of people can relate to. A side note to this song is that Anthony Kiedis actually named his autobiography Scar Tissue, which makes me believe that this song could correlate to his personal life. In this book, Kiedis provides an explanation to some of his lyrics, and he specifically noted that the song has much to do with him and the feeling as an outsider looking in. The text to this song was written in English and has always been performed in English as well. Scar Tissue is predominantly written in a major key. It was written by Chad Smith, Anthony Kiedis, Flea, and John Frusciante. I find the timbre or tone color of this song to be light but dismal at points. The song starts off with being dreary because the first lines of the song, "Scar tissue that I wish you saw," indicates that there has been a struggle in the past that this person has endured and a specific individual that didn't notice. I find the overall tone color to be light because it has a soft melody. The texture of this song is polyphonic because both the vocals and instrumentation are able to stand alone as a melodic musical piece. This texture is created when two different elements of melody are combined to create layers of music, and this is what we see in Scar Tissue. The layers in the piece are the vocals, different guitars, and drums. Something I've noticed about the song after listening to it repeatedly is that there is not a ton of text. The song isn't super wordy. It cuts to the chase and gets the meaning straight across to the audience. The chorus ends up being repeated 6 times, and there are a total of 5 short verses. I like the technique the band uses with this because I find it makes the song stand out and easy to remember. The piece starts off with Frusciante on the lead guitar. He sets up the rhythm for the rest of the band members to follow and gives Kiedis a good beat to begin the song with. The timbre of the lead guitar is soft and light. Chad Smith begins on the drums, and Kiedis begins the first verse of the song. The addition of the drums add to a change in texture and move from a monophonic texture to a polyphonic one. The timbre of the drums are strong and add a loud dynamic to the music. The harmony is consonant. There are no rough sounds in the music, and although the text discusses a difficult and harsh period in Kiedis' life, the music doesn't sound like that. The first line of the song is actually in the title. The first line of a song is usually one of the most important, and by using the title in the first line, it tells the listener exactly what the purpose and meaning of this song is. In this verse, Kiedis references a former band member, Dave Navarro. He calls him sarcastic Mr. Know-It-All. A quick history of Dave Navarro was that he was a guitarist for the Red Hot Chili Peppers but did not get along with the band members and was finally asked to leave in 1998. He was said to have kissed Kiedis several times publicly, hence the following line, "Close your eyes and I'll kiss you," which is a line commonly mistaken to be regarding a female. When listening to this song in the past, I always assumed that this line was referring to a previous female lover of Kiedis's, but when really analyzing the song, I looked up the line and found that I was in fact wrong. When the chorus is first introduced. I have listened to this song hundreds of times and never realized how soon the chorus comes in until really analyzing the song and looking up the lyrics word for word. I cannot think of many songs where the chorus is introduced this early on in a piece. The first line of the chorus, "With birds I share this lonely view," is repeated twice, and that makes up the entirety of the chorus. I also found this technique surprising of using a short chorus. Most songs have a chorus that consists of 5 or 6 lines, but I really liked how Scar Tissue used one that was short and simple. Kiedis uses the technique of an agogic accent on the words lonely view. An agogic accent is an accent where there is an emphasis on a certain word or words by virtue of being longer in duration. By doing this, he really states how isolated he felt when he was an addict and suffering alone. The use of this accent adds a change in tempo and slows down the pace of the song. I did not notice any changes in the harmony and melody of the song, which is why I don't think I ever picked up on the fact that this was the chorus. The second verse of the song begins. I noticed a millisecond pause in Kiedis' voice and the music itself between the chorus and the second verse. This pause is called a caesura and indicates a new phrase or verse is about to begin. The overall tone of the song picks right up again, and the melody is the same for both the first and second verses. The text in this verse is about a female. The Red Hot Chili Peppers were a fairly hot commodity, and I think this verse talks about the female attention they received from many girls, and in this case, a young Kentucky girl in a push-up bra. Now we're taken back to the same chorus. The text is the same and is repeated by Kiedis, but unlike the first time, there are backup vocals in this chorus. The backup vocals are performed by Frusciante and Flea. The addition of more singers to the chorus adds emphasis on the piece and reinforces that this is the chorus and not just a verse. With the addition of vocals, there is an obvious change in vocal harmony, and the texture goes from thin to dense, which gives off a more powerful and stronger meaning to the listener. At the end of the chorus, there is another agoic accent used, but this time it is just on the word view. This accent helps lead into a small guitar solo by Frusciante. Again, like before, the tempo of the song is slowed with the use of this accent. The purpose of this guitar solo is to signal a change in mood. The guitar solo by Frusciante has background help from Chad Smith on the drums. It is a total of 12 seconds long. The text in the song up until now has primarily been focused on Kiedis' life, but in the upcoming verse we are now referencing Frusciante's past. The third verse begins. The first line in this verse is, "Blood loss in a bathroom stall." This references a specific scene in a documentary called Stuff, which is about John Frusciante's house and his struggle with addictions that took place there. In this documentary, a scene shows bloodstains, which is most likely from injections. The third line of this verse, "Wave goodbye to Ma and Pa," is also about Frusciante and how he cannot count on support from his parents to get through his addiction. The final line of this verse helps transition to the chorus we are now hearing for the third time. The chorus starts again, and we are hearing the same backup vocals by Frusciante and Flea that we heard before. Again, these backup vocals are enhancing the song and changing the harmony, which is in the end creating a denser, more layered texture. The fourth verse begins. This verse is also a reference to Frusciante. This verse is my favorite because it is full of references and includes a hyperbole. In the first lines of the verse, soft-spoken with a broken jaw, it is about how Frusciante took a break from the band and performing back in the 1980s to focus on recovering from a heroin addiction, and when he returned a few years later, he had done some serious damage to his jaw. The reason for this damage is unknown. Also in this verse, a famous reference made to River Phoenix is made. River Phoenix was a famous musician and actor who was a good friend of the band's, especially Flea's. The line, "Step outside but not to brawl," refers to a concert venue where River was performing at. But he had done some drugs beforehand and had to step outside right before the concert and ended up overdosing and dying. The next line mentions autumn, which alludes to the month of October when Phoenix died. The final line of the verse, "I'll make it to the moon if I have to crawl," is a hyperbole that refers to the moon as a safe haven for addicts and describes how desperate they are for help and a solution to get there, that they'd crawl to the moon if that was the only way to get help. The chorus begins for the fourth time and is presented in the same format as before. There is an agoic accent on the word view. The accent is much more emphasized than usual because the biggest guitar solo of the song is about to occur. The tempo of the song does slow down in order to prepare for this huge solo, which is going to be performed by Frusciante. Frusciante's solo begins and lasts 21 seconds. Chad Smith on the drums is in the background. The tone color of this part of the song is very gentle and light. I think it's representative of how Frusciante and Kiedis would feel once they ditched the addiction and drugs. Verse 5 begins, and it is the same exact text as in verse 1. This technique of repetition signals the song is coming to a close. The chorus begins for the fifth and final time in the song. Kiedis, when asked about this line, refers to an actual experience he had one time when looking up at the sky and seeing the birds and feeling like an absolute outsider. This is the final guitar solo done by Frusciante with the backup of Smith on the drums. This third solo on the guitar is unlike the first two. This one is much more high-pitched and uses the whammy bar. When Frusciante does this, he adds vibrato to the sound of the piece, which is done by changing the tension of the strings. This sound is very unlike any other sound heard throughout the piece before. I would describe the sound as strident and high-pitched. The solo continues until we reach the end of the song, which is about 40 seconds later. In general, Scar Tissue is a very good piece and is one of the most famous songs from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm very impressed with the simplicity of the piece and believe that it makes a great song. The text is very personal to the band members and can be seen as relatable for many people. The Red Hot Chili Peppers are a very talented and well-renowned band, and this song clearly adds to that.